How many times have you been asked a question that seemed perfectly innocent on the surface, yet deep inside, it left you unsettled, doubting yourself, and wondering if you had just walked into a trap? Maybe it was asked with a smile. Maybe it came in a soft tone. But something about it didn't sit right. You answered, and later realized that by responding, you had already lost. That's not a coincidence. That's strategy. Manipulators don't always lie directly. They don't always need to twist the truth with obvious falsehoods. Sometimes, their most powerful weapon isn't a statement at all, it's a question. A question that flips the frame, puts you on the defensive, and leaves you carrying the burden of doubt. And once that doubt starts working inside you, it doesn't take long before you're second-guessing your judgment, apologizing for things you didn't do, and even fighting yourself while the real deceiver quietly walks away untouched. This is the art of psychological warfare, and it's far older than you might think. The ancient Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, understood this perfectly. They warned that deception rarely comes through brute force. It comes through small openings in the mind, through subtle pressure on our emotions, through the skillful planting of doubt. A manipulator doesn't need to destroy you directly. They only need to make you question your own awareness, and you'll do the rest of the work yourself. Fast forward 2,000 years, and the tactics haven't changed. If anything, they've only become more refined. Today, manipulators use questions that sound polite, almost caring, but in reality are carefully engineered traps. They know that if they can pull you into their game, you'll spend your energy defending yourself instead of holding them accountable. And once that happens, you've already surrendered the most important battlefield, your mind. That's why in today's video, we're going to break down the 5 most dangerous questions liars use to manipulate and control you. These are questions you've almost certainly heard before, maybe from a partner, a boss, a politician, or even a so-called friend. On the surface, they look harmless, but beneath the surface, they are razor sharp, and if you don't see through them, you'll find yourself giving away your power piece by piece, often without realizing it until it's too late. But here's the good news. Both Stoicism and the Dharma offer tools that make you unshakable in the face of these traps. The Stoics teach us to anchor ourselves in reason, not in the storm of emotion. They remind us that composure is the strongest form of defense. The Dharma teaches us mindfulness, the art of observing without being pulled into the drama. Together, these traditions create a shield that manipulators cannot penetrate. So as we explore each of these 5 questions, I won't just show you what they mean and how they work. I'll also show you how to respond, with clarity, calm, and strength. You'll see why Marcus Aurelius believed that truth never needs to shout, why Seneca insisted that lies collapse under scrutiny, and why the Buddha taught that faith without wisdom is nothing more than blindness. And you'll learn how to apply these lessons in your own life, whether it's standing firm in a toxic relationship, refusing to be bullied in the workplace, or simply protecting your peace in a world full of noise. Stay with me until the end, because what you'll discover is more than just a set of defensive tactics. You'll see how awareness, your own sensitivity, your own clarity, becomes your greatest shield. You'll realize that what manipulators want you to treat as weakness is in fact your hidden strength. And once you understand that, you'll never look at these so-called innocent questions the same way again. Welcome to Dharma Veins. Let's begin. 1. Why are you being so sensitive? At first glance, this question feels harmless, almost like a gentle nudge. But make no mistake, it's one of the most common tools of manipulation. When someone says, "Why are you being so sensitive?" they aren't showing concern. They're planting a seed of doubt, trying to convince you that your awareness is nothing more than weakness. It's a subtle way of saying, "You're imagining things. The problem isn't me, it's you." This is the very essence of gaslighting, twisting your perception until you start to fight yourself instead of questioning them. The Stoics understood this tactic long before the word gaslighting even existed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong, I gladly change, for it is truth I seek, not victory." To a Stoic, sensitivity isn't weakness, it's perception. It's the ability to notice when something is off, to detect the cracks before the wall collapses. The Stoic approach is simple: don't rush to dismiss your feelings. And don't let others shame you for them. Instead, test them against reason. If you are wrong, you gain truth. If you are right, you've protected yourself from harm. Either way, awareness is never the enemy. Buddhism echoes the same wisdom. In Dharma, mindfulness is the ability to observe reality as it is. It's like having a radar that picks up the faintest signals, a change in tone, a shift in body language, a tiny inconsistency in behavior. People who cultivate mindfulness often see the roots of suffering before others even realize something is wrong. To dismiss this awareness as too sensitive is to discard one of the most valuable human capacities, the ability to wake up before the house is on fire. History gives us countless reminders of what happens when sensitivity is mocked. Sharon Watkins, the Enron executive who first noticed irregularities in the company's financial reports, was brushed off as alarmist. But her sensitivity to those small details exposed one of the largest corporate scandals in history. What looked like paranoia turned out to be foresight. Or think of Princess Diana. For years, when she voiced discomfort about her husband's behavior, she was told she was overreacting, that she was too emotional. Yet her instincts were right. Her sensitivity wasn't fragility, it was clarity in a world that wanted her blind. Even in ordinary life, the same story plays out. A wife notices her husband growing distant, less eye contact, unusual late nights, small lies that don't quite fit. When she brings it up, he laughs. You're imagining things. You're too sensitive. Months later, the truth of infidelity emerges. Her so-called sensitivity was not weakness but the intuition that saw what others refused to face. Or picture a young analyst at a global bank, mocked by colleagues for being paranoid about small inconsistencies in the numbers. Years later, those very inconsistencies reveal a multi-million-dollar fraud. The pattern is always the same. What manipulators call sensitivity is often the very thing that saves us. It is the radar that warns us of hidden dangers, the quiet alarm that alerts us before disaster strikes. Both Stoic philosophy and Buddhist mindfulness remind us of the same truth. Sensitivity is not fragility. Sensitivity is awareness, and awareness, when honored instead of shamed, is nothing less than survival. 2. You trust me, right? On the surface, this question sounds tender, even innocent, like someone simply seeking reassurance. But beneath it lies one of the most manipulative traps you'll ever face. A person who is truly trustworthy never has to ask for your faith. Their actions, repeated over time, build a foundation of trust so solid that no words are necessary. When someone insists, "You trust me, right?" what they're really doing is asking you to suspend judgment, to silence your intuition, and to hand them a kind of blind faith they haven't earned. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus warned us about this kind of illusion. It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. When a manipulator demands trust instead of earning it, they're really trying to close the door on inquiry. They want you to stop asking questions, to feel guilty for being cautious, and to believe that skepticism equals betrayal. But in reality, caution is wisdom. Trust, if given too quickly, can turn into a weapon used against you. Buddhism teaches the same principle through the concept of saddha, or faith. The Buddha never asked for blind belief. In fact, he explicitly said, "Do not believe simply because you have heard it. See for yourself." In Dharma, true trust is not passive, it's verified. It's the kind of faith that grows out of direct experience and discernment. Just as gold is tested by fire, trust must be tested by consistency and truth. History gives us vivid examples of how destructive blind trust can be. Think about Bernie Madoff, the financier who ran the largest Ponzi scheme in history. For years, when investors raised questions, he leaned on reputation and personal assurances. "You can trust me." Many felt guilty even entertaining doubt. And by the time the truth emerged, billions had evaporated. Their blind faith became the soil in which betrayal thrived. On the political stage, leaders across the world have used the same tactic. Richard Nixon, during the Watergate scandal, repeatedly assured the American people that they could trust him, that he would never mislead them. History proved otherwise. His demand for trust was not a reflection of integrity but a mask for deception. And we see it in intimate relationships too. Picture a partner who hides their phone. Who grows defensive when you ask simple questions? And yet repeats over and over, "Don't you trust me?" This isn't love, it's manipulation. Real trust doesn't require constant verbal reassurance, it reveals itself in transparency, consistency, and truth. The response to this trap must be firm but calm. Trust is built by consistency, not by demand. A person of integrity will understand that and continue to show reliability without offense. But a manipulator will bristle, deflect, or lash out, because their game depends on you surrendering your judgment. The lesson is clear. Blind faith is the breeding ground of betrayal. Trust, whether in leaders, partners, or colleagues, must be earned through truth repeated over time. Anything less is not trust at all, it's surrender. 3. Are you accusing me of something? This question looks innocent, but in reality it's one of the slickest tricks in the manipulator's playbook. It's a tactic designed to flip the script. Suddenly the person under suspicion transforms into the victim, while you become the aggressor. Instead of addressing your concern, they put you on trial. The real issue gets buried, and you're left scrambling to defend yourself for daring to notice something wrong. Marcus Aurelius left us a simple but powerful strategy for moments like this. The best answer to anger is silence. That doesn't mean surrender or weakness. It means choosing not to get dragged into an emotional wrestling match where the manipulator has the advantage. In Stoic terms, silence is control. It keeps you from reacting impulsively, and it denies the other person the drama they are fishing for. Buddhism frames it slightly differently but with the same wisdom. The teaching of anatta, or non-self, reminds us not to cling to the identity of being right or wrong. When someone lashes out with, "Are you accusing me of something?" mindfulness allows you to see it for what it is, a defense mechanism born from fear. Instead of fusing with that anger, you remain still, centered, unattached. This is what it means to hold your ground without letting the storm pull you in. We've seen this tactic play out at the highest levels of power. During the Watergate scandal, Richard Nixon and his administration often deflected pointed questions with outrage. "Are you suggesting the President of the United States is a crook?" The goal wasn't truth, the goal was intimidation. To make journalists and citizens feel guilty for even asking. But history shows the truth doesn't vanish just because someone turns the spotlight back on the questioner. Or consider a modern CEO confronted about missing funds. Instead of providing clarity, he fires back at the board. "Are you accusing me of stealing from my own company?" That counterattack shifts the conversation away from accountability and forces others to backpedal, exactly what the manipulator wants. On a more personal level, it happens in relationships all the time. A wife, sensing something off, asks about her husband's late nights. Instead of answering honestly, he snaps, "Are you accusing me of cheating?" In that moment, she is forced into the role of the aggressor. The focus moves away from his suspicious behavior and onto her supposed cruelty. The Stoic and Dharma approach here is the same: hold steady. Don't defend, and don't be baited. After a pause, the calmest and most devastating reply is simply, "Should I be?" Those 3 words hand the burden back to them, where it belongs. If they are innocent, they won't be shaken, but if they are guilty, the mask begins to slip. The lesson is clear. Do not let yourself become the defendant in someone else's theater. Manipulators thrive when you rush to explain, apologize, or soften your stance. But when you stay composed, silent, mindful, and precise, you remind them that truth doesn't need panic, and observation doesn't need apology. 4. Would I ever lie to you? This is one of the most poisonous questions in manipulation because it comes wrapped in velvet. It's not a request for truth, it's theater. When someone looks hurt and asks, "Would I ever lie to you?" the goal is not to prove honesty. The goal is to make you feel guilty for doubting them. Suddenly, you're the cruel one for even imagining deception, and they become the innocent victim of your suspicion. It's a psychological trap designed to silence your instincts. Seneca gave us a clear antidote centuries ago: if it is not true, do not say it. If it is not right, do not do it. A person of integrity doesn't need to swear they would never lie. Their actions, day after day, speak for themselves. Truth has no need for performance. When honesty is real, it doesn't flinch under scrutiny. Buddhism reinforces this with its fourth precept: refrain from false speech. In Dharma, truth is not defended by dramatic gestures or wounded tones. A truthful person doesn't need to stage a performance of innocence. They simply live in a way where their words and deeds align. If someone insists too loudly that they'd never lie, it's often because they sense you're already close to uncovering what they're hiding. We've seen this play out with powerful figures across the globe. Richard Nixon famously told the American people, "I am not a crook." Yet the Watergate scandal proved otherwise, forcing his resignation. His dramatic insistence on honesty was not a shield but a confession of weakness. Bill Clinton, during the Monica Lewinsky scandal, looked into cameras and declared, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman." That forceful denial became one of the most replayed lies in modern political history. The same dynamic shows up in everyday life. A colleague who avoids accountability might constantly repeat, "Come on, would I really lie to you?" The more they say it, the more suspicious you should become. Or consider a partner who hides their messages but insists, "I'd never lie to you." That plea for blind faith is not love, it's manipulation. The Stoic and Dharma response is to cut through the theater with calm clarity. Instead of rushing to reassure or getting tangled in guilt, pause and reply, "That's not the question. The question is, would I know if you did?" This shifts the frame entirely. Instead of you defending your suspicion, the spotlight returns to their behavior. Honest people won't be shaken by this. Liars, however, will fumble, because their power depends on you second-guessing your own perception. The lesson is simple: honest people don't fear scrutiny. Only liars do. When someone's integrity is real, it doesn't need defending. When it's fake, it will always ask for applause. 5. Can't we just move on? This is often the last card in the manipulator's deck. When denial no longer works and excuses run out, they turn to exhaustion. "Can't we just move on?" sounds peaceful on the surface. But underneath, it's nothing more than an escape route. It's not about healing, it's about silencing. What they're really saying is, "I don't want to face the truth. I just need you too tired to keep asking questions." Marcus Aurelius gave us a timeless warning: if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Notice that he never added, unless it's inconvenient. For a Stoic, truth has no expiration date. Time doesn't wash away dishonesty. Accountability delayed is not accountability erased. Dharma makes this principle even sharper. Karma doesn't vanish because someone wants to move on. The consequences of unacknowledged actions remain until they are faced and transformed. Pretending the wound is gone doesn't heal it, it festers. In Buddhist thought, true liberation comes only when we see things clearly, not when we bury them. We've seen this tactic repeatedly in politics and business. After the 2008 financial crisis, when major banks were caught in reckless practices, many executives urged the public, "Let's not dwell on the past. Let's focus on the future." What they meant was, let's avoid accountability, or think of political scandals, time and again. Leaders caught in corruption begged the nation to move forward, instead of answering hard questions. The request for silence is disguised as a call for unity. On a personal level, it plays out in marriages and families. A husband caught in betrayal doesn't want to face the pain he's caused. Instead, he tells his wife, "Why keep talking about it? Let's just move on." But what he really wants is not reconciliation, it's escape. Without truth, there is no trust. And without trust, there is no real future. The most powerful response to this trap is calm and steady. "I'll move on when I understand what happened, not before." That single sentence anchors you in clarity. It tells the manipulator that peace cannot be forced by fatigue, and that your dignity won't be traded for silence. The lesson is unmistakable. True closure never comes from avoidance. It comes from honesty. Healing begins not when we bury the past, but when we face it. Stoicism and Dharma converge on this same point: without truth, there is no freedom. Only when the truth is brought into the open can we genuinely move on. 6. The complete synthesis. The 5 questions we've explored are not random slips of language, they are carefully crafted psychological traps. Each one is designed to twist perception and disarm awareness. The first turns sensitivity into weakness, as if noticing danger early is something to be ashamed of. The second demands trust rather than earning it, using pressure instead of consistency. The third flips the roles so that the observer becomes the accused, shifting the burden of proof. The fourth hides behind emotion, feigning injury to make you feel guilty for doubting. And the fifth leans on fatigue, urging you to move on, not for peace, but for escape from accountability. The Stoics saw through these games long ago. Their concept of apatheia, freedom from being ruled by emotion, was never about indifference but about clarity. When anger, guilt, or exhaustion are stripped of their power, manipulation collapses. A calm mind cannot be baited. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus all taught that truth needs no drama, and reason needs no apology. Buddhism offers the same shield in a different form. Through Chan Naim, or mindfulness, we train the mind not to chase after appearances. Awareness itself becomes a defense, a light that exposes deception. When we stay present and refuse to be swept away by shame or fatigue, we see things as they are, not as manipulators want us to see them. Karma, after all, cannot be erased by ignoring it. It only transforms when faced with honesty. History provides plenty of examples. Richard Nixon tried to flip accusations back onto his critics, only to fall when the Watergate tapes surfaced. Bernie Madoff leaned on reputation and assurances, "Trust me," while orchestrating the largest Ponzi scheme in history. Countless political leaders have begged the public to move on after scandals, hoping exhaustion would silence inquiry. Yet truth eventually surfaced, proving once again that denial has an expiration date. But truth does not. The larger lesson is clear. Awareness is not weakness, it is power. It is the radar that senses danger, the discipline that resists emotional bait, the clarity that keeps us from surrendering to fatigue. And truth has no deadline. Whether in a marriage, a corporation, or an empire, attempts to bury it only make its eruption more devastating. Both Stoicism and Dharma converge here. Clarity is freedom, mindfulness is strength, and reason is the shield that no manipulator can penetrate. You've now seen the 5 questions that liars and manipulators use to twist your perception. Each one looks small, even harmless, but together they form a pattern of control. And now you also know the antidote: awareness, composure, and clarity. These are not just tools of philosophy, they are shields that protect your freedom in every part of life. But this isn't just theory, it's about you. So let me ask, what manipulative question have you faced in your own life? Was it a boss demanding blind trust? A partner flipping the script? A politician asking you to move on? Share your story in the comments, because your awareness might help someone else recognize the same trap. And if this message resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to Dharma Veins. This channel is where timeless wisdom, both Stoic and Buddhist, meets the challenges of our modern world. Together, we can train the mind to stay calm, clear, and unshakable, no matter how much chaos surrounds us. Before we close, I want to leave you with a prayer from the Buddha, especially for these times when humanity faces so much pain, natural disasters, wars, and suffering that feels unbearable. May all beings awaken to clarity. And may truth shine even in the darkest times. Carry that light with you. Remember, awareness is not weakness, it is your greatest power.